Hello everyone and welcome back to Mariana Mass Books. My name is Mariana and today I am here to talk about Paragon from the Liveship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb. Hi, this is Editing Me. I realized that I wanted to film a better introduction for this video because I wanted to do a couple of content warnings and such that I didn't do, and I realized as I was editing. First warning is obviously this video will contain spoilers for Ship of Destiny, but also for the entire Liveship Traders trilogy by Robin Hobb. So if you haven't read this trilogy and you want to read it, then ideally please don't watch this video so you don't spoil yourself the joys that is reading this trilogy. A couple of content warnings. If you don't want to know anything about the trilogy, this is your time to leave the video. So I will give you time. La la la, 1, 2, 3. Yes, you are gone. Okay, so because I will be talking about Paragon and Ship of Destiny and the ending of Ship of Destiny, I will be mentioning hard topics such as trauma, emotional trauma, cycles of trauma, but also of course sexual assault and rape. So if you don't want to hear about that, then don't watch the video. But you know, I'm going to stop talking now and just leave you with the video. So I'll leave you with the video. Why do I want to make a whole video about Paragon? Well, Paragon was my favorite character from the Liveship Traders trilogy, and I am surprised at the lack of love he's shown in the internet. After I finished the Liveship Traders and I gave it 5 million billion trillion gazillion stars, I started watching a lot of live shows, spoilery discussions of the trilogy, and I'm not going to lie, part of the appeal of watching the live shows was, oh my god, I want to see what people have to say about Paragon. I just want to hear all the Paragon love. And to my surprise, most live shows just brush past Paragon. He's just mentioned in passing. I have never watched a live show where someone says, so what do you all think of Paragon? Never. And I'm appalled by the lack of Paragon love and Paragon spotlight in the Liveship's discussions. So I wanted to remedy that. And then I watched a video, again a live show discussion, where they were talking about the ending of Ship of Destiny, where, and again I'm just going to dive into spoilers, so yeah, when Paragon takes Althea's pain away in the ending, and they were discussing that, and I had thoughts I wanted to bring to the discussion, thoughts that were not said and I need to be said. I watched a video where Alan from Library of Alexandria, sorry, hard channel name to pronounce, he was saying how when you watch live shows, the problem is that you have opinions and you're like, no, I can't verbalize my opinions, and that's how I felt, so I needed to make a video. Why is Paragon my favorite character? Okay, so I feel like first I need to talk about what type of characters I love, what type of characters I get attached to when I read books. In simple terms, it's the outcast. I always root for the outcast characters, but I think we all do. I think that's like what else is new. Everyone roots for the underdog, but it's the outcast that deserves love but doesn't get it. the outcast that for some reason believes that they are not worthy of love because no one has ever shown them love. The type of character where you want to jump into the book and hug them and tell them, I love you and you deserve love. So, you know, Paragon is that type of character. Paragon is the most tragic character I have ever read. Ever. And I have read the Farseer trilogy. Sorry, Fitz. Yes, I think I can confidently say that Paragon is the most tragic character I have ever read. And Robin Hobb writes tragic characters in such a good way because oftentimes I don't love excess tragedy in a book. When it is done in a very telenovela way, when it's done in a very Lifetime movie way, I think that would be the reference for US context, where it's like drama for the sake of drama, drama for the sake of making people cry without any depth, just the immediate cheap reaction. I hate that. And Robin Hobb doesn't do that. Robin Hobb writes life. And she doesn't write drama, to put it that way. She writes tragedy. She writes all the aspects of life, all the range of emotions, all the range of things that happen, and the emotions that she tugs, it's not cheap. It's not just for the sake of tugging the reader's emotions. It's because she's telling a story that has depth. I really enjoy reading her tragedies, and that sounds contradictory. I don't enjoy it. I suffer. But I enjoy it as a reader. I enjoy it in the way that I love her books. I'm drawn to Robin Hobb's tragic characters because of the way that she can write life. And because of the way that she makes me invested in her stories. And I just wanted to share a couple of tragic moments from Paragon's life, from the books. Not because I want to inflict pain on myself, but because I want to inflict pain on you. And that I'm king, but I'm not. No, what I mean is that I just want to comment that, because it's like when you're doing a body read and you're like, oh my god, can you believe this happened? And then you can suffer together, and it's part of the reading experience, and that's part of booktube as well. So I just want to bring forth these tragic moments so we can suffer together. And then I'm going to talk about some happy moments, and then I'm going to talk about the ending of Ship of Destiny. I told you this video was going to be long. Oh, and speaking about body reading, I am body reading The Realm of the Elderlings with Elle from Elle Thinks. So I just wanted to shout out her channel. Go check her channel out. We are having so much fun. We started with Farseer, and we have already body read other stuff, The Lord of the Rings, some romance. Yeah, so just shout out to Elle. It's been super fun. We are currently on Tonyman trilogy, and we are going to read through the entirety of The Realm of the Elderlings together, and it has been so much fun. So back to tragedy, back to making you guys suffer. What moments did I want to talk about? Going through my notes. I actually took notes for this video, which is why it took me so long to film, because I've been wanting to film these things forever. So, okay, a couple of moments that broke my heart. Checking my notes. First, when we finally find out who it was that chopped his eyes off, and we are finally told that it was Kenneth when he was a boy, who was forced to chop Paragon's eyes off. And there is this moment where it describes the scene where Paragon is holding Kenneth when he was a boy in his hand, while Kenneth is chopping his eyes off, forced by Egrot. I think that was his name, the pirate. The image of Paragon holding Kenneth, who was his buddy, his boy, his best friend, in his hand, letting him chop his eyes off, and they are both being forced to do that. There are no words for the amount of pain that scene inflicted on me. And then another moment, when Kenneth asks him to kill himself. I think it was Chris's Bookish Cauldron, Chris from Chris's Bookish Cauldron, who said that that's the moment where Kenneth becomes irredeemable, where he has this opportunity to face his past, meaning Paragon, and actually, face his memories and take them in and do something about it. And instead of that, he chooses to keep shielding himself from the past and tells Paragon to kill himself. And Paragon believes that it's the best thing, and he believes that he's killing himself out of love for Kenneth, and that it's the honorable and the worthy thing to do. The way Kenneth gaslights everyone is just amazing, because I have to confess that he gaslighted me. Hopefully I am not the only one who has been gaslighted by Kenneth as well. But that moment was tragic. And then finally, I want to talk about a moment where I am going to read quotes, because it's one of those moments where you read it and then you can't stop thinking about it for days. This is Ship of Destiny, when Brashen, Althea, and Amber are already aboard Paragon. They are sailing Paragon, and Althea and Brashen are being very professional in their relationship. They both want to be together, but Brashen and Althea are being, Brashen is the captain, Althea is the first mate. The healthy thing to do is to keep the roles and not go into a personal relationship. And then there's the moment when they realize that's BS, we should just, be together because that's what we want to do. And so they have sex, consensual sex, and it is a loving act. But Paragon senses this, and he thinks that Brashen is raping Althea, because that's the only thing he has ever known. Anytime that there has been a sexual act aboard him, it has been violent, it has been non-consensual, it has been rape. That's all he knew. And I'm going to read some quotes, because that's what I'm going to do. So this is from Ship of Destiny, chapter 12. Paragon turned all his senses inward, seeking. Something was happening. Something being Brashen and Althea. Something was happening. Something dangerous. Something frightening. He had known this before, and braced himself for the wrenching agony and shame of it. All he has ever known of this is agony and shame. When humans came together like that, it always meant pain for the weaker one. What had made Brashen so angry with her? Why was she allowing it? Why wasn't she fighting him? Was she so frightened of him she could not resist? He just registers this as Brashen is raping Althea. He starts noticing that there's no violence. He starts being very confused about what's happening. And so it says, he didn't understand this. He had thought he knew what this meant. If Brashen did not mean to punish her, If he was not trying to master her with pain, then why was he doing this? Why was Althea allowing it? He clenched his hands into fists and held them tight to his chest. He would not scream. He would not. Amber was talking at him, but he closed off his ears and tuned in his other senses. This was not what he had thought it was. He had thought he understood humans and how they hurt one another, but this was different. This was something else, something he could almost recall. Timidly, he shut the eyes he no longer had. He let his thoughts float and felt ancient memories soar in him. I'm not going to expand on my feelings about this because I don't know, I guess if someone has feelings they can say them in the comments and I can answer. I just want to remark on one quote just to talk about something other than Paragon and talk about Robin Hobb's writing. When she writes, timidly he shut the eyes he no longer had. How good is that sentence? Timidly he shut the eyes he no longer had. Robin Hobb is just so good. She communicates things with words in a way that I clearly don't possess, as you can tell from this video. Finally, I want to talk about some happy moments to contrast the tragedy, and then I'm just going to quickly talk about the ending of Ship of Destiny and my thoughts about that. I chose one favorite moment from per book. There are more, of course, but I just chose the one that immediately came to mind from each book. From Ship of Magic, my favorite happy moment is when Amber gifts Paragon a necklace that she has carved from wood. And I just want to say that knowing what I now know about Amber's identity, it melts my heart even more to know how she befriended Paragon, and it makes so much sense that she would be the one to befriend Paragon. And yeah, so that is from Ship of Magic chapter 26, and I'm just going to read you the quote. It starts with Amber telling Paragon, I brought you something, and Paragon asks, you brought me something? Really? He tried to keep the excitement out of his voice. I don't think anyone has ever brought me anything before. And so when he finds out it's a necklace, he said, I want to put it on, he announced. His hands trembled. A necklace, a gift to wear, for him. He didn't wait for her to reply, but took it by the cord and shook it open. He set it carefully over his head. It tangled for a moment against the chopped mess of his eyes. But he plucked it clear and set it against his chest. He feels all the beads, all the shapes, and then he says, Oh, Amber, this is wonderful. Is it beautiful? Does it look lovely on me? And Amber tells him, Why, you are vain, Paragon. I never would have guessed. And then blah blah blah. And then of course there's a tragic moment where I don't remember what, something happens, he gets angry, he throws away the necklace, he throws a tantrum, Amber gets mad, but we are just going to keep the happy. The moment that Paragon is all excited that he's getting a gift. Then from Matt's ship, I like the moment when Brashen and Amber meet on Paragon. Brashen is coming over to Paragon to sleep because that's where he always goes to sleep. And Amber is already there because Amber has been living aboard the Paragon, but Brashen doesn't know this. And Paragon is very smug about it because he always gets this smug attitude when he can surprise people, and he is so happy that he already has a friend aboard him when Brashen comes. Russian expects him to be alone as he always is. He expects him to have his room available as he always does, because no one ever visits Paragon. And the fact that there is already a friend aboard him and he can make the introductions has him all smug and happy. And I really love that scene. It made me laugh. And it is from Mad Ship chapter 16. From Ship of Destiny, I want to talk about the ending, so I'm not going to choose that moment as my favorite moment because it's also not like a happy moment. So I'm going to leave the ending for the end of the video. And for Ship of Destiny, I chose the moment when Paragon asks Amber to carve him a new face, and she carves Fitz's face. Just the whole thing. It's through several chapters, but that whole thing made me ridiculously happy. So in chapter 25 is the first time where Amber is going to tells Paragon that she's going to carve eyes into him, and Paragon tells her no. And he tells her, I don't want you to carve eyes, I want you to carve me a new face. And so what he asks her specifically, and it says, he pondered a moment. I think I do not want to be a dragon. That is, I do, but I wish to be both of them, if I must. And yet to be Paragon as well. To be, as you said, three merged into one. I want, he hesitated. If he said it and she laughed, it would be worse than death, as life was always sharper and harder than death. Give me a face you could love, he quietly beseeched her. By that time, Elle and I, we both already suspected Amber's true identity. There had been several quotes along the way that were giving us clues to the true identity. So when Paragon asks her to carve him a face she could love, I immediately thought, oh my god, is she going to carve Fitz? And then we have confirmation. And in chapter 30 it says, sometimes when she worked on his face, he could feel her affection for the countenance she carved. His face was beardless now and youthful. It was more in keeping with his voice and with whom he felt himself to be, and yet it made him squirmingly curious to know he wore the face of someone Amber loved. She would not speak of him, but sometimes in the brushing touch of her fingers he glimpsed the man she saw in her mind. That made me ridiculously happy. And then, as the book goes along, we get more and more descriptions of the broken nose and the when he has the wrong color eyes and the axe, and yeah, just that whole thing was, how does Robin Hobb come up with these kind of things? And don't tell me, because I am barely in the Golden Fool right now, but I'm curious to know if Paragon will show up again, and Paragon as Fitz. I'm curious. Don't tell me. So that is the moment I chose from Ship of Destiny. And then finally I want to speak about the ending of Ship of Destiny, because again, I know it's kind of a controversial ending. Some people hate it, some people love it. I think it was perfect. Specifically, I want to talk about the fact that Paragon takes Althea's pain after Kenneth rapes her, and that helps her heal. And I heard from some people, again, there are mixed opinions in this, and some people are not really, don't love that happened, because they feel like Althea should be able to process the trauma and everything, and that it was, I don't know, like cheap to take her. I don't know. Personally, I think it was done beautifully, and it was such a profound depiction, such a profound metaphor for the healing of a trauma that I don't think was cheap in any way, because of how everything works in this world. But the thing I want to point to are two specific things. So firstly, a very important thing that people seem to overlook, and I'm not saying everyone overlooks this, but specifically from comments I've heard, no one ever makes this distinction. Specifically from the comments I've heard, maybe someone else has made this distinction, but from the videos I've watched, when Paragon takes the pain, he doesn't take the memories. And that is a very specific thing that Paragon says explicitly on page. He tells Althea, so he is taking the pain, and then he says, I leave you the memory, for that I fear is truly yours. That's a very important distinction. He takes the pain but not the memory. It's like a wound, a physical wound. You have, let's say this, my scar from surgery. I have this wound, right? But it's a closed wound, but I have the scar. I will always have this scar. And this scar is part of the memories and part of my identity. But it's no longer an open wound. Specifically this scar, I have many other scars, but specifically this one is a tracheostomy scar. And tracheostomies are open for a long time. So I had it for many months, where it was an open wound that inflicted pain constantly. This wound, while it remained open, it kept causing pain. And then when it finally closed, the pain stopped, but the memory remained. And I had to work for years to, I still work on getting over the trauma of this specific surgery. I've had many other surgeries after, but this specific one is a big source of trauma in my life. When Paragon takes away Althea's pain, what he's doing is he's closing the open wound. But he doesn't take the memories. He leaves the scar to Althea because that he can't remove. That would be cheap. If he healed the whole thing, where there, your memories are gone, you no longer remember, that would fundamentally change who she is as a person. If someone just magically went bloop, Mariana, you no longer have memories of your surgeries or your illness or anything, you have no scars, I would be a different person. So that I get. If he had removed everything, that I would get. And I would agree with people saying that that is not a good thing. But the distinction is very specific. And the fact that Robin Hobb specifically states in the page, I'm taking the pain, but I'm leaving the memory with you. That is yours, makes a complete difference. And then the second thing is the wording. For context, if you have read this book a long time ago, Althea has been suffering through trauma after Kenneth's rape. It's horrific, but it would be a whole video to speak about that. She has been struggling, and she is aboard Paragon, and she has this open wound, and she has been even having problems going near Paragon. So there's this night where Paragon kind of summons her to the deck, and what he tells Althea is that she has something that belongs to him. And when I first read that, I was like, what's this? What does Althea have? And he tells her, you have a pain that is not yours. This pain was never yours to begin with. I'm going to read the quote because I'm not going to do it justice, but the wording in that is very important, another important distinction in my view. Again, it begins by saying, "You have something of mine, I want it back." Althea says, "I have nothing of yours." And then Paragon says, "Yes, you do. It's the last piece. Like it or not, I must have it to make myself whole, to make you whole as well. You think it is yours, but you are wrong. Give it back to me, Althea. There is no reason for you to keep it. It was never even his to give you. Do you understand that? He passed it on to you. He tried to get rid of pain by giving it away, but it was not his. It should have stayed with me. I take it back from you now. All you have to do is let it go. I leave you the memory, for that is true. I fear is truly yours, is what I was telling you. But the hurt is an old hurt, passed on from one to another like a pestilence. I have decided to stop it. It comes back to me now, and with me it remains." This is such a powerful statement on cycles of trauma that are never ending. The most, I guess, common and simple example would be like a parent that gives, or a child that inherits a fear from a parent. That fear wasn't the child's to begin with. He learned it from his parents. He inherited it from his parents. He wouldn't have had that fear if he didn't inherit it, unless he learned it from himself, in which it would be his, right? That pain, like that moment, is Robin Hobb making a commentary on these cycles of trauma. Even to Kenneth, it was passed on, and it wasn't his to begin with. It's an old hurt, like Paragon says. So he's taking that pain. He's not taking the pain that Althea feels for what was done to her. He's taking away the old hurt, the trauma that has been passed on through generations. There is a lot of commentary about generational trauma in this series. We can see it in many different things, in the slavery, in the old traders, the precepts, the agreements with the Rainwilds that were generations back. There's a lot of commentary about that. And this specific moment with Paragon is making a very direct comment at what has been hinted at throughout the series, these cycles of pain, this generational trauma. And Robin Hobb is using Paragon in a way where it makes sense for his character, it makes sense for what he can do. Robin Hobb is not inventing a magic just to heal Althea's pain. She is making a commentary that she has been making all throughout the series, using the character of Paragon in a brilliant way to make that commentary and to say to Althea, here's where it ends. We are ending the cycle of trauma. You are not passing on that trauma to a next generation anymore. And after that, Althea is not magically cured. She, again, the wound has closed. She can breathe more freely. She goes back to Brashen, and she tells him what happened, and she tells him, I need time. I need to go slow. If Paragon had just magically healed her, just like nothing is wrong anymore, Althea wouldn't have been like, oh, Brash. First, she wouldn't have the memory to share, and second, she wouldn't say, I need time. She would be like, oh yeah, back to normal. She's slowly healing. So, that ends this video. That ends my thoughts about Paragon and the ending of Ship of Destiny. That ends this love letter to Paragon and to Robin Hobb. And it is enough because it's been so long. I feel like I've been talking all morning and I'm going to take so long to edit this. So stop talking, Mariana. Thank you for watching. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are back, welcome back, etc. I hope you are having a good week, and in the meantime, I wish you a happy reading.